Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, or whatever it is. I'm Chase Cunningham, Dr. Cunningham, if you want to be formal. I'm the VP for Security Market Research here at G2. We've got this program we put together. They're going to be doing pretty much monthly security snippets. We're going to cover some of the stuff that we're doing at G2's Market Research Group, and we're also going to talk about some things that are of value and interest in the security space in general. So if you're not familiar with G2, go look at what we got. It's all information that's super valuable. I use it all the time. It's just a good place to get end user feedback on the space. So today, we're going to talk about the finally burying the hatchet on this whole zero trust and SASE thing, which for me personally, because I'm a ZT guy, I'm really glad to do. And the goal is just to make people aware that there is a difference here. There is a nuance. Some other analyst firms have been pushing this stuff out there, but G2 actually has got data from end users and a lot of research and a lot of, I guess you could call it deep thinking to validate exactly where we're going with this. So let me break this down for you and give you the run through. The only other thing I want to mention too is a lot of people talk about large language modeling and AI and whatever else. We have our own system here at G2 called Monty. And part of the way that I kind of do the research in this space is I use Monty to give me some information and feedback. And if it's coming through Monty, that means that it is pretty much industry accepted. If you ask a large language modeling system questions and it gives you back a response, it's pretty valid. So let's just, accept that for what it is. Now, when we're talking about ending the zero trust and SASE confusion, we have a blog coming out about this. Myself and Amal are writing this. Look for it. It's coming out really soon. But really, we're just trying to make sure that there is a clear understanding of the benefits and the points that you should consider when thinking about these different solutions. So let me just read some stuff from our own research that will be in the blog that I think you should get right off the bat here. So zero trust and SASE or SSE or whatever kind of thing you want to call it are related concepts. They're related in the realm of network and information security. So they're related, but that does not mean they're the same. They're not inherently the same thing. So that's a difference right off the bat. The differences lie primarily in their scope, approach, and implementation. Okay, so there is a difference. Let it be written, let it be said. It's carved in stone between SASE, SSE, and zero trust. Now, what are those differences? Well, let's look at a little bit of the history of these two things. So, notably, zero trust has been around since about 2010. John Kindervag, who was at Forrester Research at the time, coined the term zero trust when he published a paper called No More Chewy Centers. So, since 2010, now it's 2023. You do the math on how long that's been around. So, some other notable milestones: 2013 to 2016, zero trust gained some traction. 2017 to 2021 is where it really took off as far as Google's BeyondCorp model became a thing. And COVID hit us like a freight train. And basically, this meant that everyone had to move towards a zero trust model so that they could keep their businesses up and operating. And then following on to that, you've got NIST coming out, which that's the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, publishing DoD's publication 800-207, which was a zero trust architecture document. So those are like your watershed moments in zero trust. Now, here's a key takeaway. You won't find that about SASE. There's no NIST thing on SASE. There's no 15, 17-year breakdown on SASE. It just came about kind of relatively recently. So let me give you some breakdowns on what the market, the LLMs, and Monty tell us about SASE and ZT. SSE is a subset of SASE, which honestly I think is kind of funny still to say you're SASE. It just makes me think of like Cyber Honey Boo Boo, but it is what it is. SASE focusing specifically on security services. It has evolved alongside the broader SASE concept and does not have a distinct separate timeline. So those two things, SSE and SASE, have kind of evolved together. SASE, SASE, was introduced by Gartner in 2019, which I'm no math whiz, but 2019 is much later than 2010, in a report called The Future of Network Security is in the Cloud. That report marked the formal introduction of this concept and the wording around SASE as an integrated framework. So post 2019, after its introduction, SASE started to get some traction, mainly because of cloud adoption and mobile stuff. And then 2020-21, SASE and SSE became a thing because of the continued use of remote work in the context of dealing with post-COVID. So That's kind of the big thing to take away here, is that these systems of thought and these approaches to the problem have been around for a different amount of time. SASE, SSE, SSE specifically is more about the services implementation around SASE. And I know I'm using lots of acronyms here, but if you're in cyber, you got acronyms tattooed on your skin. It's just how things are. Zero Trust, ZT, has been around a lot longer, and Zero Trust, ZT, is something that is adopted by the US federal government as a big strategy. It's also been adopted by the government of Australia, and it's working its way into the UK government. So for those that are still wondering what's going on here, the real difference is if you're thinking about cloud and remote sort of stuff and taking care of things in the context of the services that will enable that, you're thinking about SASE, SSE. If you're thinking about the grand strategic initiative around removing trust relationships from within systems, you're talking about zero trust. Does that mean that SASE is not a strategy? No. Does that mean that ZT is not a sort of technical approach to the problem? No. Typically, you've got one or the other. Most organizations, if they are combining these two things together, kind of mushing SASE and ZT into one system, it's kind of confusing, and you really should hitch your horse to one wagon or the other. No one's paying royalties to anybody based on whether or not they say SASE or ZT. It's really about the right way that you approach the problem and how you actually deal with what's in front of you. I would suggest that in most instances, a long-term strategic initiative would be a zero trust approach, and doing things that are at the end of the perimeter, taking care of cloud, mobile devices, etc., remote work, and doing it where you're enabling a service to solve that problem is a SASE thing. Now, lastly, let's take one more look at our own research at G2 and see if there's some notable differences in the two. Right off the bat, what you notice is that there is a formalization within G2 from the end user perspective around zero trust. It's broken down around the zero trust extended ecosystem framework, which has got the pillars. And in those pillars, there are relational data points within G2 that we can look at. Now, in G2, if you go to g2.com and look that up, you'll look up something like zero trust networking, and you can see the solutions that are zero trust aligned that move you towards zero trust. That's what you're trying to get to. If you go look at SASE, you will see solutions from vendors that do things that enable the SSE, SASE sort of methodology. You won't see a lot of cross-pollination between the two. And I think that that's notable in the context of data analysis and having an understanding of what's going on within our data taxonomy, because it does help you kind of bifurcate your thinking. On the analyst side of things, this helps me think about, well, if I'm taking care of a ZT problem, I need to do research on ZT aligned solutions. If I'm trying to do things along the lines of SASE or SSE, I need to go look for SASE and SSE related solutions. It's actually noted in our research that a lot of end users say that they are slightly confused when vendors market both things. So if you're a vendor and you're listening to this and you're running with your go-to-market around we're SASE and ZT and we do all the SASE ZT things, your end users are telling us to the tunes of thousands of end user reviews that that's not a good idea. So either hitch your horse to the wagon of enabling zero trust as a strategy, or hitch your horse to the wagon of we do SASE and SSE. Neither one is wrong. There is plenty of market available for each, but cobbling this stuff together, and again, based on end user reviews and data that we have on our end, is not the best way to approach the problem. People want understanding, they want clarity, they want to feel like their vendors know what they're talking about. If you're just throwing a bunch of buzzwords into the mix and hoping that they go, yes, cool, super, we'll buy that, it's not going to work out well for you. So at the end of the day, what's your takeaway from all these acronyms I've been throwing at you and all this ZT stuff? Zero trust, big grand strategic initiative, has been around a lot longer, has a lot more formalization to it, and is in use by governments to the tune of billions of dollars to move towards a bigger, better state of overall security posture by removing trust. Not don't trust your people. That's a different thing. We're not talking about phishing training. We're talking about trust within digital systems. And then SASE SSE, since 2019, newish, more about cloud, remote, mobile devices, came around from Gartner, and is something that you can also subscribe to. So there you have it. We're putting a blog out on this. We have lots of end user research and data to validate that we're not just kind of pontificating. If you're interested in this stuff, come look it up. Do your own research, because that's the great thing about what we have at G2. It's not behind a paywall. You can go figure this stuff out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Look it up and do your own research and leverage these resources. Like I said, I'm Chase Cunningham, Dr. Cunningham, VP for Security Market Research here at G2, and we'll catch you on the next Security Snippets.